Yes. He was talking to us about Wagnerian heroes indulging in narcissistic monologues, but then you did at the end make a collective laugh.
I'm a narcissistic Wagnerian. No.
Enough of this monologue. We, in the spirit of collective laugh, we ask the public to contribute.
Or will you be like those idiots? Just stand.
Might just make a very minor and obvious point, which might come.
It will be an evil remark,
No.
from the way you started. Yeah.
No, it's just it is called the ring, right? And and just what you said about the whole kind of pagan Christian, and that the ending isn't really like what you showed, Wagner's ending, which is the. It's like an apocalypse. It's the whole Rhine overflows, and then the cycle begins again.
Which cycle begins?
Well, the ring. It is,
The ring is returning to Rhine maidens.
The whole cycle of the ring starts again. That's.
Where did you find this? This I would respectfully dispute. I think you don't find this. Wagner doesn't say this. It's new.
Right.
Where before did you have people after the death?
So you say there's a break?
Yeah, I claim it's new. I claim this, not this, sorry, it's not this. This is, on the contrary, the darkest moment, I think. No, I think that moment of just humanity confronting the void after the death of God, what does this repeat? I think it happens the first time. Where do you find it? I claim that precisely, okay, I concede one point to you. Wagner was a confused idiot in his writings. Maybe he even thought that. But I think the whole point, my point, would be not to read it this way. It's not a repetition. It never happened before. What happened before was just, we know what. The original criminal is Wotan, who tear out the ash tree and what happened before was just Rhine maidens and then this natural balance ruined by the act of God. What happens here at the end, this free open space, it was never before there, but you make one good point here, which is that, of course, this was not a total reading. I totally obliterated, it can be done, the problem of ring, which, as my good friend, the French theorist Michel Chion put it, the ring is, to put it in Hitchcockian terms, the greatest MacGuffin of all times, so should I put it, no? And I think that, if anything, here things go ambiguous, because you are right in this sense that it's too easy to, I think, reinscribe ring into this standard notion of circular narrative where an object is displaced out of its proper place, and then the whole story is really about how the story is over when the object gets back to its place. Now, if you take it in this way, the ring, then I'm now a fanatical Wagnerian, I can go on here, then things get complicated, because all Wagnerians know one of the big mysteries of the ring is the following one. The whole point of gods dying and so on is that the ring, they die because the gold was stolen, the natural balance was disturbed, and so on and so on. But then, why then, although at the end the ring is returned to Rhine, why do gods still have to die? I mean, there are many mysteries at this level. If you know Wagner's ring, another big mystery, I suspect you know it, is this one. I will ask you a question. The end of Act 1, when masked as Gunther, Siegfried comes to the cave to take Brünnhilde. Do they have sex or not? No, it's very mysterious, Basically, it's one of the most brutal rape scenes. I think if you look at the most traumatic moment, Wagner at his most shatteringly modern, in good sense, it's, I think, the finale of Act 1 of Götterdämmerung. It's terrifying brutality of how Siegfried comes and brutally, basically, rapes, kidnaps Brünnhilde, and then the beginning of Act 2, Hagen, and so on, all that stuff. And again, here is the greatest of Wagner. Hagen is the darkest figure of German mythology. already in Nibelungen Lied, Hagen is this figure of the hero, fate, destiny. Even if he knows it's the end of the world, the cause is lost, you fight to the end. But what's so typical is that in Nibelungs, the myth, he is nonetheless redeemed as this figure of German greatness. You know it's a lost battle, but it's your duty, you persist to the end, no? Then even in Fritz Lang's film, Hagen is at the end rehabilitated as such. Hagen is the figure of this German militarism in this mythological sense of you fight to the end. Isn't it nice nonetheless that the only version where Hagen is without any ambiguity a bad guy is Wagner, who is supposed to be the proto-Nazi or whatever, no? I find this quite attractive. How, again, all others redeem Hagen, who is, again, really this ultimate figure of, well, Hagen is mythic violence embodied. He does the dirty job to save it all. But I totally agree with you. I mean, like, I buy the ring being about Brunhilde, being about Wotan. The only thing I don't buy is being about Siegfried. Here, I think Siegfried is an idiot. It's a bad guy, and I think the whole point of this is that Siegfried remains an idiot to the end. And this is a nice proto-feminist point. You know, these key lines of Brunhilde towards the end, so das Wissen wird ein Weib, so that a woman becomes knowing. Only a woman is the one who, as it were, gets the point at the end. It's quite something.
I agree with that, yes.
Really reinforcing that point, you didn't mention this, but in the very last bars of Act 3, it's Siegfried's motif that is brutally truncated. It's just left with a single long note, the minor sixth of the scale. It just pathetically sinks back to the fifth, and then you get the great renunciation.
Yeah, okay, you put it more in technical terms, you know, these are the limits of my bluffing, how should I put it, no? No, but you see, I like the way you are reading Wagner, how should I put it, you know, it matters, all these details. I hate those general readings, Adorno sometimes falls into them, you know, just Wagner, leitmotif, German mythology, and in this quick way, everything. Even would you agree with me? Because, okay, sorry if I ignore now all of you. Even my friend Alain Badiou convinced me I started as a good Nazi, as all Wagnerians did. That is to say, my youth was spent in this ecstatic admiration of Furtwängler. But I think there is a whole dimension of Wagner which is lost in this Furtwängler is the conductor of this great passionate continuity, organic flow, and so on. I think that there are quite many, so although as a person, I hate Karajan. I hate him because why always, whenever you mention Nazism in music, all the blame goes on Furtwängler, who was endlessly more honest than that. But nonetheless, I think that there are some nice details in this clarity, microscopic attention, and so on, also in Karajan version.
It's very interesting, actually, that just at the moment, in the current issue of Musical Times, there's a very interesting essay on Tristan by Arnold Whitall, in which he takes apart Lorenz's structuralist reading of Tristan, precisely in order to follow detailed developments of the motifs and the ideas and so on, in very much the same kind of way.
Yeah, because this is what interests me in Tristan, all the failures, like what is the structural necessity? You know, Tristan in Act 2, you have this great love duet. Now, the big enigma, if you explain this, you have already the first key to the opera, is why doesn't it end in Act 2? It would be, okay, they go into this, so sterben wir ungetrennt, blah, 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 and, okay, you can say, okay, they are spotted, but it shouldn't be, like, there is an inner necessity in it, and as we know then, when Brangene comes with a cry, it's the greatest coitus interruptus in the entire, why the necessity of this? You know, officially people read Tristan and, in this eternal self-obliteration, but this is exactly what doesn't happen. That was Wagner's genius. he does exactly the opposite. And he does it again and again. We can reread in this way. For example, we can reread in this way Tannhäuser. Usually people read Tannhäuser as a simple metaphysical duality between sensual love and whatever. But no, I claim the true undeadness is the key. Aria is the one at the beginning when Tannhäuser says to Venus, basically, too much happiness, too much pleasure, like, where is the castration, where is this? It's too much, and so on, no? So it gets much more complex in this way, which is why, I wonder what's your opinion, I agree with those staging where Elizabeth, the good Christian heroine, and Venus are sent by the same woman. I think this is crucial. In this sense, we should read these two women, but to Wagner it became clear only with Kundry. He wrote Wagner that when he got it that the same woman who is the seductress is the redemption and so on and so on. So all I want to say is that at this level, something very naive. Let's not just get lost in this deconstructionist making fun like Mark Weiner's book. I claim it's interesting, but even if everything is true, I get this reaction, fuck off, so what, as they put it. No, it's not interesting. Okay, he makes all these microscopic Foucauldian points. If you look at how sounds or even smells are described in Parsifal, you can see that it's all about making fun of the Jews and so on, or whatever you want, and so on and so on. This is for me basically to such an extent non-interesting. It doesn't, this cheap historicist contextualization doesn't do. What I like is that precisely you do something very brutal. You take an opera out of context, you reinvent it, and then, if it's properly done, you have this wonderful enlightenment idea, oh my God, now I see it, and so on. No? And this is what I like so much about Wagner. I am, unfortunately, old enough to know that when I was young, Wagner was considered just for old Nazis who forgot to die, basically, no? Now Wagner is almost predominantly, I would say, a staff for left Jewish directors to stage. And I love this. I mean, this is the truth. This is the truth of Wagner.
I'm older than you and Jewish, and
so you must be a Wagnerian then.
More totally dedicated Wagnerians.
Yeah, even this joke. Sorry, just this. The great Wagnerian tenor. One of now he is old. Siegfried Jerusalem. A wonderful name. Siegfried German Jerusalem. I asked French in Vienna because he is Viennese. What a strange name. He told me. Nothing strange. He comes from a Jewish family, and in Jewish families at the turn of the century and later in Vienna, it was very fashionable to give Germanic names.
My father was called Siegfried.
Yeah, so somebody told me that there is a standard Jewish joke from Vienna. Two Jewish girls talk. No, two Austrian girls are talking, and one says, who is your boyfriend? She says, Zygmunt. And yours, Siegfried. You also have a Jewish boyfriend. So, because practically, and you see, this is what, like, Wagner is too precious to be left to the enemies, my God. No, there is so much in Wagner. Just, again, look at the texture of the work and see how it interacts with let's call it, for example, would you agree with another point with which I'm obsessed? Klingsor is not the true bad guy in Parsifal. Klingsor is the B-level boss. The true bad guy is Titurel, the father, who with his obsession with Grail kind of ruins the natural circle. He's the source of, it's a little bit, I claim, as with Hamlet. Any close reading of Hamlet makes it clear that Claudius is a B-level, small level, whatever, that the true source of evil must have been Hamlet's father. You have some of the mysterious hints, when the ghost first appears and explains to Hamlet, because there is a big question, if he was such a good father, why is he returning as a ghost? And he says, because I was killed, murdered in the flower of my sins or whatever. You see, one should be very precise who is. Again, in Ring, it's Wotan, not Alberich, who is the original sin. In Parsifal, it's Titurel, who is the true this kind of a Freudian Urvater, obscene father. It's not the poor Klingsor and so on. No?
You two could talk forever, couldn't you? So there's a question there? Yeah?
No, I'm covered.
You covered.
It's about Tannhäuser.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, because it's so, the ending that you're looking at is very similar to Anna Mickiewicz's Jade, which is also the big Polish romantic text. So at the end, Conrad is sublimated on a horse, because isn't Brunhilde supposed to leap into the flames on a horse as well at the
You
end?
know the joke? They did it in the first year staging, but then the horse got crazy, almost ran into the public, so okay, let's go on. Yeah,
Well, I mean, because that's also how Mickiewicz does it. It's the horse ascends and that's the end. But that's supposed to be this sort of collective call to political action for Poles to regain the nation. So, I mean, is the opposite reading the possibility that there has to be first a moment of sublimation for there to be this collective call? But isn't that the opposite of saying it's a big other that we're rejecting?
No, but what I'm saying is that the big other has to properly die. For this, you have to have this Christ-like moment. Here, I'm a little bit maybe reactionary of terror, but I agree here with Alain Badiou. People didn't notice it, that he made the same point at the Communism Conference when he got into this obscure thought about the necessity of the one, but he was basically rehabilitating the cult of personality. People didn't notice it, no? I think yes. I think so. I think we, if we want to be less, we should shamelessly accept it. That's why I'm so sad I didn't have time to do. The big question is, how can we think this moment without all this Stalinist mausoleum stuff and so on? And I wanted to do it, I don't have time. The key is, my God, it's a beautiful painting. You know, it's a painting that you all know, but only now did I discover it in the sense of David, the death of Marat. You know what's so strange about this painting, if you remember it? Marat is down here. The strange thing is that more than half of the painting is just black up there. And that's the greatness. That's why I think this painting is a material proof that the Jacobins were not totalitarians. Because, you know, it's Marat dying and then black. You know what? I can, if you leave me, okay, if I were to know how to draw nice paint, and if you leave me one afternoon, I would be ready to make out of this death of Marat a wonderful Stalinist painting, filling this blackness with some ideal future of happy people so that you can say, you know, Marat dying, but his death is a triumph of the people, and so on. But this precise, isn't this something tremendously beautiful, that you have a revolution whose central painting is something, again, extremely weird. It's just, you know, it's just a fragment down there of a dead body and then almost a kind of a dead Marat supplemented by some kind of Malevich or whatever, a big Malevich up there, the frame. So, but again, you need a dead Marat. You need a figure like that. You need a figure like that. But I claim that maybe we can play, I'm totally improvising now, the game of dead father, dead son, or whatever. That the guy who dies is not a paternal figure. It's not the Freudian. I claim that there is a motive of the death of a hero, which is not the same as the Freudian totem and taboo logic of the dead father who returns as symbolic authority and so on and so on and so on. That it's different. It's different. I'm saying this as an atheist, of course. It's a more Christological logic. But if you come from Poland, nonetheless, I have a problem. Were you able to survive? It's even more boring than Wagner, Andrzej Wajda's Pan Tadeusz, the film.
I'm actually from California.
You see, now I speak as a Nazi. You see this decadent Jewish mixture. You even don't know where people come from and so on. Everything is wrong in this world. But how did you know then about that? Do you study Polish literature?
Yes. But this is the founding gesture was Conrad's sublimation on the horse at the end of Jade. And
because I don't know. I only know Pan Tadeusz, and I didn't get a multiple orgasm reading Pan Tadeusz.
Normally you bluntly ask people, you know, your racist credentials, you ask them where they're from. Now you didn't and you got it wrong.
No, but I told you, I'm not joking here. I think that I am a true anti-racist. The only way to be truly anti-racist is to be a racist against everybody, you know.
But it sounds like the next masterclass will be on communism and painting. I mean, are you going to comment on any paintings for the rest?
You know, I bluff a lot. There are limits to my bluffing. You know what I mean? No? I just an idea came to me that how you have this medieval topic, you know, Kantorowicz, two kings' bodies. Then you have this re-emerging in Stalinism, the leader's body, and so on. And the idea came to me, my God, what we have with David is something totally different. It is as if precisely this, you know, Marat, it is as if precisely this passage into this kind of a fake sublimation of the other body is blocked there. Is blocked there. Precisely why? Because, again, the only solution is this one. The only way for the dead leader to be re-embodied, to be resurrected, is in the collective. You don't need a new master, and so on. No?
Exactly.
And this, again, is precisely what maybe happens here.
We have to go at 4, so are there any more questions? Anyone? Yes.
Please.
Maybe I misunderstood, but when you use divine violence, Siegfried, why not Brunhilde? Isn't Brunhilde sacrifice at the end the creative destruction that allows?
Yeah, but okay, I will put it in this way. I got your point, and I totally agree with you. I think that the first, okay, I put it in this way. What Wotan misplanned it. He was aware that his mistake was mythic violence. He was too much of a Stalinist. He thought that he can plan, now I will organize a nice divine violence. No, it didn't work. It worked in a totally different way. Yes, it's a beautiful remark, I agree with you, with Brunhilde. But Wotan's plan was obviously for Siegfried to be like divine violence. But I don't know if you agree with this, if you know Wagner, but I think, again, that the key thing is, and again, there are so many traces in Wagner of Siegfried's extreme brutality, stupidity. It's not only the way he treats in Act 2 of Siegfried, it's even worse. He's totally dismissive, practically racist outbursts against Alberich Mime, or again, the end of Act 1 of Götterdämmerung. The way he treats Brunhilde there, it's one of the most traumatic, painful scenes, and so on and so on. Although, incidentally, everything can be rewritten. There is an attempt, and I love the book, unfortunately it's not translated into English. There's one of these popular German version of who did Lord of the Rings, of Tolkien writer called Holbein, but with a double H. H-O-H, and Bain, I forgot even his name, who wrote...
Wolfgang.
Sorry?
Wolfgang.
Yeah, Wolfgang, I think. Didn't he wrote, among other things, also totally writing in Nibelungs, a wonderful novel, I love it, called Hagen von Tronje, which is a wonderful 500 pages novel, very well written, total rehabilitation, but not as a figure of mythic obscene violence. It's a total rewriting where also Siegfried is a brutal thug, but it's a totally different rehabilitation of Hagen. That's a successful, but it's simply another Hagen. But one of the best Hagens recently is yours, British. How is it called, that actor? Did you see a movie, a German-British movie with Brunhilde, don't laugh, is that the girl who plays the bad cyborg in Terminator 3, Kristana Loken. She plays Brunhilde, the German young star Benno Furman plays Siegfried, and I forgot one of the English actors plays Hagen. It's not such a bad film, incidentally, but okay, let's stop.
Can I ask a question? We do have until 4:15 at maximum, we were told. But,
yeah.
I thought your talk was. I mean, I'm not an opera expert, but I thought it was really sweet, this business of collective love in the end. I mean, are you suggesting that we can go beyond this? There is no sexual relationship, the Lacanian, and are you suggesting,
yeah,
as long as there's
exactly,
there is, I mean,
this was to be the secret thing, but you converted me here. I don't believe, I no longer buy this tragic Lacanian ethics,
really?
you know, like.
So as long as we focus on something else, we can love each other. As long as we focus on
I'm even ready to go a step further.
That's really
I can even forget about the woman or the man or whatever, or two women, so that you will not accuse me to being in a binary opposition or whatever. What I'm saying is that I don't buy this, I less and less buy this tragic Lacanian ethics of, the only authentic experience is the experience of an ultimate impossibility, discord, and so on. And then every collective project is, in some radical sense, false, based on some erasure, oppression, disavowal of this impossibility, and so on. I think that this kind of collective, this kind of collective unity should not be dismissed at some psychoanalytic level as based on some repression, on some original trauma or whatever, and so on.
And it's not imaginary.
Sorry?
It's not imaginary.
No. So I think precisely this. I think that this will be my ultimate goal. That this impossibility of sexual relationship, whatever, is not the ultimate truth. It also doesn't preclude another authentic form of intersubjectivity, which doesn't have to be erotic in the immediate sense. I think that my Lacanian formula is a very simple one. It's the object A, that communities are kept together, Lacanian doxa, by master signifier. But I think that what we can get, and that's for me a very brief simple formula of communist utopia, that object A does the work without the master signifier. Object A, which you should remember, this Lacan calls it asexual. He also reads A as asexual. So I think there is a jouissance which is asexual, and which this would be for me, again, the moment of agape, and so on, and so on.
And it can function. Well, I hesitate to carry on because we've got a hopeful note to finish at that. Unless there's other people asking who want to ask questions.
No, I just had I'm sorry for today, again tomorrow. I just had this bad feeling that I was, how should I put it, stuffing backyard. Like when I visited years ago British friends, and they thought they are doing me a great favor. They were forcing me to eat those pheasants and all that. It's almost as bad pheasants as haggis. Haggis is the lowest.
No, we enjoy it.
Like as if I was stuffing haggis down your throats here in private dreams. So tomorrow we are back to normal waters.
Normal
Okay.
nightmare.
Thanks for your patience.